Hello, this is a comparison between the 149 Platinum trim versus the King of Pen Urushi in the blue Urushi finish. As you can see, the 149 is slightly shorter than the King of Pen, and in terms of aesthetics, the 149 has a band, whereas the King of Pen doesn't. It's more of a sleek design. Those are the clips. They're both similar clips with similar stiffness, but they're both very practical clips. In terms of the top, as you can see the 149 Snowcap logo. Sailor King of Pen doesn't have any branding whatsoever, besides just the clip. On the band for the Montblanc, it says Master number 49, whereas King of Pen, there's no branding. It's a very sleek Japanese design that I very like. And the 149 has a platinum trim, which is more of the expensive side. In terms of the nibs, in the nib sections, as you can see, they both have similar size nibs. They both have like the diamond shaped nibs. And as you can see by the nib sections, the King of Pen is slightly slimmer than the 149, but they're both very comfortable. And they both flare out just a little bit in the end, but not too much. And they both have plastic feet. They're both just very good looking pens, and the nibs are just gorgeous to look at. 149 is a two-tone nib, and the King of Pen is a monotone nib, but they're both very cool nibs. In terms of how they feel, the King of Pen feels very balanced for me because it's keeps a nice cartridge converter, so it's most of the balances to the nib section. And you can post this, but I personally don't post my pens, and this is a Urushi pen, which I don't post my pens for regardless, but I would definitely not post my Urushi pens. Even though they're durable, I just don't feel like posting them. You can definitely post them for 9 without posting them. It's very balanced, and it's just very comfortable to use. Most of the balance goes down to the nib section as well because it's a plastic piston. And when you post it, it looks very nice, and it's balanced as well. When you compare the size when they're posted, as you can see, they're similar size. The King of Pen a little bit longer. In terms of mechanism, the 149 is a piston filler, so it holds more ink than the King of Pen. And it's a very smooth piston filling mechanism. It's not hard or anything like that, so it's very convenient. Whereas the King of Pen is the cartridge converter, which has like an ink window in the cartridge, which is, in my opinion, very dumb, and holds very little ink. The Sailor converters don't hold that much ink, which I wish they did more. Now let's get into the writing experience. Montblanc pens and 149 in general are more of a hard nibs and it's more stiff nibs. So are the King of Pens, but in this case, 149 actually makes less feedback than the King of Pen because it's less audible feedback. I'm using Montblanc Jazz Blue, which is a very nice blue ink, just like every other limited edition Montblanc inks, which tend to be blue in this case. The nib is very reliable. It's a hard nib, just like the King of Pen, and you can write with it for hours and hours. If you like a little bit more feedback, the feedback you get from 149 is both physical and audible, which if you enjoy, then it's a perfect pen for you. There's no railroading, it wrote perfectly out of the box, brand new. And in terms of verse writing, it's very scratchy, so it's not really made for that. And there's no line variation as you'd expect from modern Montblanc nibs. In terms of wetness, it's a medium wetness pen, which I like. I don't like too wet pens like the Viscontis and some Montblanc pens or Pelican pens, but it has a medium wetness, which is enjoyable to write with. Now let's get into the King of Pen writing experience. In my experience, the King of Pen is right similar to Montblanc 149, with one big difference, which is the pencil type feedback. You get this, like, it is mostly audible feedback more than it is physical feedback. I feel like the 149 has more physical feedback than Sailor, but you get more feedback in general from Sailor because it has a lot of audible feedback. You can test this by having headphones on and then playing music and just writing with the pen. If you feel the pen is very smooth, barely any feedback, then most of the feedback is coming from audible feedback. I'm using Graphone Faber-Castell Carbon Black in this case. It's very good black ink. The Sailor King of Pen is a little bit more softer than the 149, but in terms of softness, it's not as soft as like a pilot nibs or anything like that. It's still a very hard nib for a 21 karat nib. And Sailor nibs are known to be hard, even though their King of Pen nibs are a little more softened than their regular pens. It's still a very hard nib in general. You can do reverse writing with this pen. It's actually not that scratchy, surprisingly. And there's not really that much line variation. Even though people say this is a very soft nib, it's not actually that soft, and I would go against spreading the tines too much because you might easily spread out the tines and have to pay a lot to fix it. In terms of wetness, it's a medium wetness just like the 149, which I like, and I don't like too wet pens. Now I've shown side view of both of these pens for people that enjoy the side view angle of writing. As you can see, 149 is just a beautiful nib. It's just very good to look at. I do wish the King of Pen also had a two-tone nib I think it will look better, but you can just swap out the nibs if you really want with another King of Pen that has a two-tone nib. Both the 149 and the King of Pen are just enjoyable to write with. I enjoy both these pens, and I usually use them both for just casual writing and just note-taking because I don't have to worry about spraying at the tines or whatnot. And the King of Pen, I like the feedback the King of Pen gives, but not all the time. The pencil feedback is very enjoyable. I personally use pencils to draw a lot, so when I'm writing with a fountain pen, it's very nice to have like a pencil feedback sometimes, but I don't use this pen all the time because that pencil feedback does get annoying sometimes when it just makes too much noise sometimes. So if you like Pelican nibs, then you might not like Sailor nibs because they have too much feedback. In terms of comparison, let's get into the 149 first. 149 has a hard 18 karat nib, which is still reliable and good to use. It still has some feedback and physical feedback, but in general, it's a very good nib. It's very reliable. Next is the piston filler. In terms of piston filler, it holds more ink than the King of Pen. It's a precious resin pen, which they call it, but it's a plastic pen. My problem is that it has a plastic piston. I wish it has a brass piston, so it's more reliable and it's more balanced, because it feels a little bit too light for a pen at this size for me personally, and it's very difficult to clean. The reason being is, as you can see in the video, those two holes are where you insert the tool to unscrew the nib section for 149, and so you can't do it on your own, which is really annoying because it makes cleaning that much more harder. If it was the same mechanism as like a 1005 Pelican nibs, then it would make the 149 way more better suited for me personally. Next is the social status factor, which is understandable because that's what Montblanc has branded themselves to be, this high-end luxury item. So if you see a Montblanc pen, you would think that person is wealthy, but if that's the reason why you want the pen, then you're in the wrong hobby in my opinion. And the price. This is a $940 pen. For a plastic pen, it's very expensive, and especially for a plastic piston pen. But as you can see, if there's a market, then people will buy it. I bought this, so obviously I thought it was worth it. I did not pay $940, but I paid about 40% less. But if you buy it discounted, then it might be worth it. And I have two Montblanc pens, two Montblanc 149 pens. This, and I have another pre-order version, which is the one with the calligraphy nib, which I'm waiting for. And I think the calligraphy nib is definitely worth it, but I'm not really sure about this one because you can get similar type of writing from any other pen in this market that's comparable, like the M1000's King of Pens, which are actually more the regular King of Pens, not the Urushi versions. Now let's get into the King of Pen. It has a soft yet firm 21 karat nib, which some people enjoy if they like pencil feedback. Sailor is very popular these days, so a lot of people like the nib, the feedback they get from the Sailor nibs. So, and this is a little bit more special because it's a little bit softer than the regular Sailor nibs, so it makes writing that much more pleasant. The pencil type feedback is a hit and a miss with people. Some people like it, some people just despise it. So you just have to test it out. If you like no feedback, if you love your Pelican nibs, then you most likely might not like your Sailor nibs. But in my case, I have more Pelican pens than Sailor pens, and I don't use my Sailor pens as much because that pencil type feedback can get annoying real quick if you use it for more than a couple of days in a row. The biggest con with the King of Pen is the cartridge converter, specifically the ink window in my opinion, because it makes cleaning a lot more difficult. You can't fit the syringe bulb to flush the pen easily without making a mess because of that useless ink window. The reason I just don't like is you can use just a regular cartridge system where you can get rid of the ink window and it will be just fine. As you can see, the 1911 large that's in comparison, you can see the ink level perfectly. So I don't understand why Sailor decided they're going to add a useless function that actually hinders cleaning. I wish they got rid of that. One of the biggest pros of this pen, the reason I got it, is because of the Urushi finish. As you can see, it's more of a dark navy in the photos. Urushi, not much as a blue Urushi as it should be, but over time it should get lightened up. And in person it looks a lot better than it does in video and photo. If you can look up the Urushi technique. It takes months, and I just like the feel of Urushi. And knowing that I have a Japanese piece of art in my hand that took months to make, and it just looks very beautiful in person. And I like the sleek design of Urushi models compared to their regular plastic version King of Pens, where it's like the bands. It just takes away from the look of the pen, in my opinion. And the biggest con for this pen is the price. It's a $1,900 retail pen. I paid about $1,000 for this pen, so $100 less. But even at that price point, it is still very expensive. It's more expensive than 149. But keep in mind that the 149 is fully plastic pen that's injection molded, that costs like barely nothing. Whereas the King of Pen is an ebonite body with covered in Urushi that takes a long time. It's a Japanese technique that's very expensive and time consuming. So you can understand the price where it's coming from, but keep in mind both these pens are luxury items. Any fountain pen that's above the price of about $5 is overpriced and very expensive. So keep that in mind when you're deciding between these pens. But if you're deciding between the 149 and just a regular King of Pen, then I would definitely prefer the King of Pen regular version over the 149 if you like pencil type feedback. But if you don't like that kind of feedback, or if you do not like the cartridge converter system, since it makes it difficult to clean to begin with, then I would prefer the 149. Even though piston filler and the cleaning system is still very hard to clean, it's still better than the cartridge converter system that the King of Pen uses in the plastic versions. Thank you for watching. Have a great day.